there. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to set up your Word document according to MLA formatting standards. And these are the rules that we follow for formatting our documents so that everyone's is uniform, everyone's looks the same. It's a small thing, the formatting, but I'm a stickler for it because I think it's just a simple set of rules to follow. Super easy. You can set up the document in less than 30 seconds, really. So not adhering to the formatting rules, for me, it shows a lack of following the instructions and a lack of attention to detail. And that's not what I want to see when I sit down to read an essay. The very last thing that you want me to think when I first look at your essay is, oh no, they didn't do the formatting correctly. And so I'm gonna show you how to do it in Word, and this is Word 2013, but it should be similar in 2010 if that's what you're using. Alright, so there are several things that you'll need to do to set up your document. And if I were you, I'd just jot these down. Your MLA formatting requires Times New Roman 12-point font. It requires double-spaced lines, 1-inch margins all around. It requires a very specific heading, a very specific header, and a title that is centered. The first lines of each paragraph will be indented, and your works cited citations will have a hanging indent. Okay, so if we're in Word, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Home tab, and for font, and I'm going to make sure my insertion point is there at the very, very top of the document. If you're not sure that your insertion point is there, you can do Control Home, and it'll send it where it needs to be. Here I'm going to do Times New Roman 12-point font. Okay. Then on the Home tab in the paragraph group, I'm going to click this button and choose 2.0 double spacing. Alright? By default, margins are 1 inch all around, so I really am not too worried about that. My heading goes only on the first page, and so heading and header are a little bit confusing. A header goes in the top margin of every page and has your last name and the page number, and a heading has all the course information. It just goes on the first page. So I'm going to type, actually let me do, it gets a little bit confusing, student first name and then your last name, and you just hit enter once. If you've set up your paragraph or your line spacing properly, it'll, when you hit enter, the insertion point will move down to the next blank line and it'll be exactly where it needs to be. Then you're going to put the course, enter, the professor name, and my name is Mackenzie Escamilla, our professor name if you're doing this for another class, and then you're going to put the date. Okay? Then you're going to put the title of the paper. Now the title of the paper is going to be centered, but that's the only difference between this text and this text, and the body text. It doesn't need to be bold. It doesn't need to be underlined. It doesn't need to be in a pretty font. It's just plain. Okay? I'm going to move back here. To set up my indentation, what I'm going to do so that I don't have to worry about it at the beginning of every paragraph, I'm just going to go to Home and Paragraph. I'm going to launch this little dialog box, and under indentation, I'm going to do first line. And then that way, for the first line of each paragraph, it'll be indented. So I'm just going to type continuously here, and it's going to be the same letter because I have nothing creative to write in the video. Alright, so there's the end of my paragraph. When I hit enter, it's automatically going to indent for the next paragraph. Okay, so that's what we want it to look like. Now the next thing that we need to do to set up our document is to set up the header, and this is the part that everyone has a little bit of difficulty with. This is the heading, and it just goes on the first page. We don't have a cover page for MLA. This is it. So what I'm going to do to set up my header is I'm going to double click in this top margin right up here. Okay. Now in MLA, the header goes along the right margin, and you can see that my insertion point is on the left margin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit tab twice. All right. It moves it all the way over to the right margin. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my last name. All right, your last name. And when I've done this video before, I've typed in Escamilla because that's my last name. And then I would get papers from all of my students, and the header would all be Escamilla. And I understand that that was confusing. Your header will be your last name, okay? Then we're going to put a space, and then we're going to insert the page number. And we don't want to type it in, because if we type it in, then on page 2, it'll reflect whatever we typed in, and we want the page numbers to be accurate. So here, where my insertion point is, because I've opened this header part of my document, I have the header and footer tools design contextual tab. I'm going to go to header and footer, page number, and instead of top of the page, because if I did it here, it would take out what I've typed as my last name, I'm going to click on current position. It's the only way to do it. And click 1. Or click whatever it is there. Let's see. Header. Oh, sorry. Page number, current position, plain number. Sorry. Alright. So now, when I have, you know, my header there, when I create a new blank page, it now reflects the correct page number and page 3 down here. That's not it. It really, really bugs me when the header is formatted differently than the rest of the document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my header, and I just have to do it on this first page. Go to the Home tab, and I'm going to choose Times New Roman 12-point font. I take off for that, just because it bothers me. I like consistency, and I like for everything to look the same. And again, these are just a set of super, super simple rules to follow, okay? Alright, so I've changed to that, and I'm good. Now my header is set up appropriately on all my pages, and I don't ever have to type that in again. I just type it in on the first page up here in the header part, and it shows up on everything else. And my heading's good, my title is good. The last thing that I'm going to show you how to do is the Works Cited page. Now the Works Cited page is only going to be for documents that have in which you've cited sources. Alright, a Works Cited page goes on the very last blank page of the document. So if my document finished here, I would hit Control Enter to create a new blank page. Same header here, continuous page numbering, and the first thing I'm going to type on that very first line is Works Cited, and I'm going to center it. Okay, and then I hit Enter, and I'll left align it again. What we need to change here is we need to change our indent to a hanging indent. Alright, a Works Cited page in all other aspects is formatted like the rest of our document, except for the indentation. So here, on this very first blank line after my title, I'm going to go to Home. In the paragraph group, I'm going to launch the dialog box launcher. Under Indentation and Special, I'm going to choose Hanging. And this is what my citations will look like. Okay. Now, on your Works Cited page, and we won't go into how to write all of the different citations. It's another battle entirely. You'll write your citations. They need to be listed in alphabetical order. They need to be in Times New Roman font, 12 point. They need to be double spaced. Okay, it should look exactly like the rest of the document, with the exception of the hanging indent. So when I write my citation, this is what it's going to look like. All right, that's citation number 1. And this is citation number 2. And of course yours won't be. Yours will have actual information. And this is citation number 3. And this is citation number 4. All right? That hanging indent. And we can tell that this text is exactly like this text. And we have double space lines, Times New Roman 12-point font, nothing fancy. What I would caution you against is using the, is it references? Yeah, using the Citations and Bibliography Manager here in Word. I'd really caution you against using it. It's not 100% correct. And it's going to insert it formatted incorrectly. So if you do use it, you want to be sure that you go back and check those citations properly, check them that they're written properly, and then also reformat it so that it looks exactly like the rest of the document. And like I said, I'm a stickler for this because I think it's the easiest part is setting your document up properly. Okay, so again, just to review here at the end, what you need to set your document up, the formatting settings: Times New Roman 12-point font, double space lines. You need to have a header on every page formatted Times New Roman 12-point font, your last name, space, the page number. Your heading goes on the first page, your first name, your last name, the course, the professor name, the date. Your title is centered, but otherwise it looks exactly like the rest of the document. Your paragraphs are all indented on the first line. Your works cited page is on a blank page at the end of the document. It has continuous header and page number. Works cited is the title, centered, looking exactly like the rest of the document. And your citations will be Times New Roman 12-point font, double spaced, with hanging indentation. I hope that helps to kind of steer you in the right direction. And really, once you get this, once you do it a couple of times, it will be, second nature. It won't be such a big deal. And like I said, it should really take, no longer than 1 minute to get it all set up. You set it up like it's supposed to be in the beginning, and then you start working on your paper. All right? If you have any questions at all, please be sure to let me know.